I'd like to read an excerpt from my latest short story, Thorn Valley. This is kind of a macabre story. I wrote it specifically to not necessarily have a happy ending, because I tend to like stories that are a little bit darker. And so I'd like to read for you the first two chapters of Thorn Valley. Thorn Valley is a desolate place, or perhaps more accurately described, a dead place. A place where no plant, no animal, no anything could last for more than a few hours, maybe a day. Even the winds and rains avoided Thorn Valley, as if their essence would be smote if they remained too long. Scattered across the land, the foolhardy adventurer would find clothing remnants, gold and silver jewelry, and numerous artifacts left by previous travelers. Well, not left exactly. More so, they were all that remained of those previous travelers whose lives had ended here, and whose bodies and bones had long ago turned to dust. It seemed that despite their foreknowledge of this desolate and deadly place, once they entered the valley, they found it impossible to escape. While true that the valley held no life, it was the hunting ground for the dead. Wraiths, spirits, melancholy and malevolent ghosts from years so ancient as to be uncountable. They hovered silently over the sands of time, which blanketed the valley in a sparkling and awe-inspiring blindness. The sun had no fear of this place, likely due only to its distance, and it sent its glowing warmth to beat upon the rocks and the sand. Outcroppings of boulders and smaller rocks were scattered across the floor of the valley. Had this been a living place, those areas would have made perfect hiding spots for numerous predators seeking to snare the unaware adventurer. Alas, what hid there now was much worse. A terror of shadow and void that sat quietly in wait for the next curious soul to venture across the threshold. Most treasure seekers felt confident that they alone could overcome the valley to steal the riches of years past and return to fame and fortune. And likewise, the valley had seen to it to destroy each of them in devious and terrifying ways, slowly adding to its treasure. The soul du jour, the adventurer, the unlikely treasure seeker, was named Decameron, a wildly imaginative name given by parents who had once served the great lords and ladies of the land, and had only wished for something better for their only son. Decameron was a tall, elf-like man, with deep-set eyes that glowed of amethyst, and long, delicate fingers adorned with what he thought of as his rings of power. They were ordinary rings, fashioned of cheap gold and brass, but in his mind he was a great sorcerer, a wizard perhaps, who used his rings of power to summon the spirits of the world to aid him in his imaginative quests. His long flowing hair had a burning color, as if not made of hair, but of living flames that danced across his face and down his back. Dressed in a warm cloak and leggings, Decameron left the village against the cries of his mother toward Thorn Valley. The other youths his age had laughed for days after his announcement. Yet now, they felt a strange disappointment at his departure. He provided a wonderful target for their relentless pranks and torments, the boy who pretended to be so grand. And his mother stood wailing uncontrollably at the gate to the city, and his father stood stoic with unfeeling eyes, watching as his son moved into the distance as Decameron began his journey. It was a journey with an uncertain future to Decameron, but with a certain future to everyone else in town. They did not expect him to return alive. It was a journey never before completed, but often attempted. A journey which would lead him to eternal wealth or eternal damnation. And so he marched down the winding, dirty, and dusty road which would lead him straight into the beast, the heart of Thorn Valley.